Welcome to another episode of Unraveling Intellectual Property with Michael Stein. Today, we're going to talk to one of my interns that I had this spring in 2024. Very happy to have him aboard, Aman Mehta. And Aman, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So thanks, Mr. Stein. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Truly a pleasure to join this podcast as a guest. A little bit about my background. I hold an LLB from India, specifically from Mumbai, where I grew up. I went to University of Mumbai and got my LLB in 2019, after which I was a practicing lawyer as a corporate in-house counsel at India's largest company for 4 years. And now I'm currently completing my LLM at Georgetown Law.
Very impressive. And I know that a lot of your time here you spent looking at artificial intelligence issues, particularly related to intellectual property, but it's been a huge topic in any event. Why don't you tell me a little bit, especially from the perspective of a younger person, kind of the impact that you've had or intellectual property has had on you, and a little bit about your research here.
So artificial intelligence, as we know it, it's actually something called large language models, which are basically this machine learning model which is trained on a large set of data. And these models are trained on what is called, or what the companies are at least calling it, open source. We'll talk more on that, as we go into the legal issues ahead. But these are large language models which basically work off of prompts. It's something that you ask, say, the most popular one obviously is ChatGPT by OpenAI, and you ask it a question saying, what are the colors of the rainbow? And from its data that exists within the machine and within, the servers at OpenAI, it answers that question, giving you all the colors of the rainbow. So it's basically a data set that is studying your sentence and then giving you the most likely answer from the limited data that it has, to access.
Okay, so you've hit it from a very technical background. I believe you've got some background in computers, or am I
Um,
mistaken about
I'm
that?
just I'm just enthusiastic about them.
All right, well, it's a great topic to be enthusiastic about. Part of your internship was to learn about particularly the legal issues regarding various topics. So I was wondering what legal aspects or what intellectual property, or it doesn't even have to be that, relating to artificial intelligence did you come across in your research here at Stein IP?
Right. So during my time at Stein IP, I basically worked on AI and its correlation with intellectual property. So I can divide this into two aspects to sort of better explain this to everyone. First part is how it's made and how this large language model or how this AI is made, and the second part will be more on the output it generates. So first part on how it's made, it's important because how is ChatGPT giving you the result that you are seeing on your screen? So there was a US Senate Judiciary Committee that sat and heard a lot of experts on this, from the AI developers to artists to, music producers, a large set of very established folks came together to speak on this topic.
Was this
The
all
big
in one hearing?
Yes, it was one long hearing, and they've come together, and the conclusion, at least from the perspective of the developers, is that they're using this data from open source. So they claim that all this is public data that that's widely available to the public, and they're using this to train these models to give you the beautiful output that ChatGPT or Stable AI, one of them gives you. The artists and the owners of this data call it, they don't think it's fair use, because what they want, and this was something that was repeated multiple times during this hearing, which was consent, credit, and compensation. There's no consent taken by these companies, there's no credit provided, and there's definitely no compensation. You're going to see a big development in this part of how it's developed or how these language models are developed is the New York Times case against OpenAI, where New York Times is claiming that OpenAI is using its published materials, which are actually, uh, an intellectual property belonging to the Times, and actually
Was that
using this
filed, excuse me, but was that filed recently or?
the case by New York Times.
Yeah,
It's been I think, if I'm not wrong, it's been about 6 months
okay.
since it was filed. It's now actually the trial is starting, and New York Times is claiming that OpenAI used these materials, and it's not under fair use because it belongs to the Times, and it should be fairly licensed from the Times, and then they can use it to sort of train their models to provide the output it does to, anyone using it. And there's another one from Getty Images, which is, a large stock photo owner against Stability AI, which is an artificial intelligence model that uses a collection of data to give you, say, you want a picture of a dog playing piano in space. Uh, it uses these images to create this whatever output you want, but these are also trained on multiple images that that model was actually, learning from. And Getty Images claims that this has been used unfairly, their images, without actually licensing it from them, because this is something that is owned by Getty Images. So that's going to be a very interesting development. It'll be something that will shape the way these models are not only developed, but how consumers in the end will actually get to use. And of course, from an intellectual property perspective, it'll be very important for individual creators, developers to sort of understand their rights, what legal rights they hold of content, whether copyright, trademarks, whatever is being used by these large language models in their machine learning capacity.
I mean, based from what you've said, a lot of what you've said is from the perspective of the content providers. But if they're suing the companies such as OpenAI, they must have some kind of defense, right? They're not just going to roll over. What are they saying?
Yeah, they have big lawyers defending them, and obviously there's a huge defense put up. But let's sum it up in sort of one sentence. Their stance in this, even if you see the Senate committee or if you read the response that OpenAI has filed, it remains the same, that it's fair use and it's publicly available information. That is the defense that they have taken up. They're saying that there's a lot of publicly available information that has been used by these models to train them, or it's fairly acquired by them, if not fair use. They have licensed some material from other companies, if I'm not wrong. But they're claiming that this is, yeah, it's basically publicly available, or it's under the fair use sort of principle.
All right, there's so many issues. There's issues relating to copyright compensation, use of likeness, part of what the actors were, I'll say, complaining about, some of the issues you raised. Just kind of pick one of these specific topics and where do you see the future in that? I'm not expecting you to totally predict the future, but just what do you got?
Okay. So I think it's moving in the direction that AI will not only play a big role in, in your daily lives, but also your work, right? Like your work is going to be largely affected by AI, but I think it's been spoken about negatively, but I want to sort of put a positive twist to it.
Yeah,
It can
I
be,
like positivity. I'm always into the positivity part.
yeah, I'm an eternal optimist, so I'm always going to be positive about it.
I,
But
I strive to be an eternal optimist. I'm glad you actually are one.
but it's going to make, I think, our work more efficient. uh I want to give an example actually from a legal perspective, because we're talking about, intellectual property rights. One example of this is this comic that was made called Zarya on the Dawn. Now, this was a comic strip that was made with the help of, if I'm not wrong, Stability AI, or one of the artificial intelligence models, where uh, just some artists like, ABC was sitting and, prompting AI to create this comic strip. Now, this actually the artist got some rights over. I can't go into specifics because there's a lot of I don't want to complicate it for the audience, but the artist got rights over the prompt that they wrote. So prompt is basically what you write, and then, the AI gives you a result. So the comic strip itself wasn't a copyright that he got, but the prompt behind it that helped him generate this this comic strip is what the USPTO recognized. So I think it's heading in that direction where AI assisted, you know, material inventions. The Biden-Harris administration recently released a guidance. I mean, they asked the USPTO to release a guidance, and which was, in fact, we on Stein IP's website have a blog on it, and it basically states that AI assisted inventions will now be patentable. So what that means is that if a human, person has a significant contribution in making that AI reach the conclusion it does, which leads to some sort of an invention or a new material. You're seeing a lot of advances in biomedical field, especially. But if there is a significant human contribution involved in making this, invention by the AI, but without the human contribution and prompting, it would not be possible. Then it would obviously not be patentable. But if you can do that, and if you can show that there is a significant human contribution, that is an AI assisted invention. So I feel like that is the step, or that is the path that we will be taking with AI, and it's going to be an exciting development in the near future.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. And I know that we're going to have at least one, if not more, podcasts in the future regarding the specifics of patentability and copyrightability of AI generated product or content. And thank you so much for the time. And I appreciate your internship this spring. I know you're going to have a lot of success. You're taking the bar. Good luck with that. And to the audience, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to, or look forward to future episodes of Unraveling Intellectual Property with Michael Stein. See you soon.